Good evening, everyone. How is everyone? Good evening. It's Friday night. Welcome to my channel. It is Friday, September 24th. It's been a very busy day here. We've had a very busy, it's been incredibly busy. I have two big cases that are being followed on this channel. One, Josh Duggar, and there was 5 court filings, and I only got to 2 today. So there was some stuff that came out in one of the filings about some hands and admitting that the hands were found on his phone. And then we got to a second court filing where he made some accusations against a former employee. And so we'll have more Josh Duggar content coming up for those of you that are following that case as well. They have a hearing on Monday, which I'm not attending, and we will see how everything plays out with that. Tonight's going to be more details about what is going on with the Gabby Petito situation or the case, and then details about Brian Laundrie and something that we haven't spent a ton of time on in this story is talking about Brian's and Gabby's relationship. And we only saw like that one incident, right, on August 12th, where we saw the dash cam video. And when the missing persons case went out, I don't know if you guys remember this, like last week, like Gabby's dad was saying that, police had told him or asked the family not to talk about Gabby and Brian's relationship, which I was like, well, that's weird. And I was like, why wouldn't they be able to talk about their relationship? Is there something that we don't know? And I was like, well, interesting, right? So why wouldn't they want us to talk about the relationship? Well, they haven't really talked about the relationship. Gabby's dad was on Dr. Phil. And even when he was on Dr. Phil, he didn't have a lot to say about Brian. And every time he's had an opportunity to talk about Brian, he hasn't really said a lot. He really just says that he doesn't like Gabby's boyfriends. Now, when you talk to Gabby's friends, it doesn't sound like Gabby has a lot of doesn't sound like Gabby has had a lot of boyfriends. In fact, it sounds like Brian and Gabby dated on and off all throughout most of her high school. And then shortly after she graduated, they got back together and had been together ever since. So they had been together on and off for a long time. And their friends described it as a hot and cold relationship where things would be really good and then really bad. And maybe immature. Immature was another word I saw being thrown around. So a lot of people have been drawn to this case because Gabby was a 22-year-old girl, and she had a very bright future ahead of her. They were documenting their travels through Instagram and on YouTube. I don't even know that it's fair to call her a YouTuber because I only saw one video of hers on YouTube. I don't know if they deleted any of those things. She was likely trying to aspire to be a YouTuber, which is fantastic. But I only saw the one video. I don't know if they had other stuff on there that maybe got deleted, but there was only the one video on there. But they were for sure documenting it on their Instagrams. So I think a lot of people have had interest in the story. And then, I think there's just been this dynamic about this relationship where we've been trying to dissect what happened, because this was a situation where two people were putting everything out online, and they made it seem like they had the best relationship ever, that they were happy, that everything was fantastic. Lots of photographs of them smiling and kissing and meditating and yoga and hiking, and really this whimsical fantastical life, right? And, they always say that on social media, people put out the highlights or their best highlights reel. Now, some people will put everything out there. They will talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the messy. Other people will have more, I just want you guys to see the perfect, right? So that's kind of what we saw on Gabby's Instagram. So when you see what's going on and then she's missing and then he's gone, you're like, well, why did this happen? And I see you guys asking a lot of questions about what happened today, and we will get there at the end of this video. So if you have questions, hold those as best as possible for the end. I'm going to try on this stream to stick very straight to the story. So I'm not jumping all over a place. So I'm not interrupting. So if I don't answer your questions in chat, that's why. But I will get to what happened today after we talk about this interview with her friend. Okay. So her best friend basically spoke with People magazine. And I saw this article and I was like, well, this is interesting. So it says that they had a jealous and toxic relationship. Okay. And apparently she says, at times it just seemed like he was jealous. Honestly, it seemed like a jealousy problem, which I understood because you look at Brian and then you look at Gabby and you're like, Gabby, you could have anyone in this entire world. I think the implication being that Gabby was better looking than Brian. And you guys, I don't know, like they're both good looking people. I don't like Brian now, but I wouldn't have said before yesterday or before this all happened that he wasn't a good looking guy. She said he did have jealousy issues and that was apparent. She said, I mean, that you could see right through. You could see right through it after you hang out with them just a few times. So she talked about how they had, let's see. She talked about the very first time that she met Brian. And she said that she told her mother that he was weird. And I said something is a little bit off about him. I don't know what. It was the first thing I said. My mom said that to me when she went missing. She was like, didn't you say he was weird? She says that her opinion of Laundry is that he's a sociopath who's adept at lying. She said Petito would often talk to her about the blowout arguments and tense fights she'd had with Laundry. She says that over the course of their 2-year friendship, Petito often came to her home after arguments with Laundry. I think it's really interesting that she would call him a sociopath. In another interview with the Daily Mail, she talked about how he seemed to have these episodes where he would be up all night and he would be acting kind of like he was hearing things and seeing things. She talked about how Gabby would like come to her house for days at a time after fights with Brian, not wanting to go home or not wanting to be there with him. So she said, I tried not to judge their relationship, but I knew something was off. I didn't expect this, obviously. I just thought he was just controlling. And bit by bit, she was almost, the more we were hanging out and the more she was away from the relationship, the more she got comfortable and was getting into her own skin. And then she started working. So she was young when she started dating him. And she also detailed to the Daily Mail that at some point in time, she was supposed to go out for a ladies' night with Gabby, and they were going to go line dancing, and he took her ID. So Gabby couldn't get into the bar to go dancing with her friend because he didn't want Gabby to go out. He didn't want Gabby to go anywhere. So she also said this, which I thought was like, whoa, taking her ID, that's ridiculous. But it was this part right here that really got to me. According to Davis, Petito had been working 50 hours a week at a local Taco Bell prior to the couple's trek, which began in early July. She says Laundrie did not want Petito working after the two had quit their jobs at a nearby Publix with the pandemic's onset. She said he could keep an eye on her at Publix. He didn't want her to work, and she did. Like, what boyfriend doesn't want their girlfriend to have a job? Like, how are you going to live? And he was mad about it. And he always tried to get what he wanted, and he did, because he wanted the van life, and he rushed to that so that she wasn't able to work anymore. So he doesn't want her to work. It's his idea to do the van life. And she says, according to Davis, Laundrie wasn't supportive of her social media aspirations to chronicle their travels and offered road trip hacks. This, she believes, is a sign of domestic abuse. She says that she did recognize Gabby's version of, like, the version of Petito that was crying in that video. She said that she saw that in Gabby herself. She said, I've seen her like that, and it's always the same situation, and she always defends him. But she was getting so much more comfortable with me, and I swear this is why he rushed the van life trip, because he knew that I gave her a safe space. She would come to my house when I wasn't even there and stay there for hours. So I was watching Rose's Instagram, and she has shared several videos, and I didn't screen record them. I apologize for that. But there was this video where she shared it, and Gabby had been at her house, and Gabby was like, she's like, yo, I just got home from work, and Gabby's already here. So she's like at work. Gabby is at her house when she's not at home. And Gabby like brought over a bunch of treats for her friend so that she didn't have to be at home with her boyfriend. And if you think about it this way, she like lives with her boyfriend and his parents. So if you don't want to be at home with your boyfriend, you don't want to be at home with his parents, you don't want to be in your home, you don't feel safe, and like you have a friend that wants to help you and he doesn't like the opposition, because if she spends time with Rose, she's going to hear from Rose that maybe she could do better. Maybe she could not have to put up with this crap. Maybe she doesn't deserve the kind of things that he's doing to her. And I was thinking about this because I was like, okay, like that's not, and I feel like it is normal to want space from your partner. But she said that she would go to her house after blowout fights specifically and spend like a lot of time with her, and that he would get mad if he spent time away from her and he didn't want her working and he didn't, so what does someone that's a DV person do? They like to isolate. I think they like to remove you from the situation. So in so many situations like this, you see men that want full control. So she doesn't want her working. So what, they go on this van life trip. I was looking at this photo of Gabby that she drew, and I thought this was interesting because it's from her Instagram. And I don't know if you can, let me see if I can flip this. on this over here, it actually says that she doesn't want to, I don't want to go outside. I like my bed. Like, I don't want to go outside. So she says on here, I don't want to go outside. The inner workings of my mind. Not now, I'm busy sleeping. And I thought when I saw this, maybe she liked the outside, but maybe she didn't like the outside as much as Brian. Maybe she didn't like the outside as much as he did, and she went along with this because it was like what he wanted. Yeah, I was trying to think of myself in a van life, and I wouldn't be able to do it. It would be way too crowded. It would be way too on top of each other. I think she felt out of control. Blogger with no blogging. So it says, I don't want to go outside. So I don't even know. I can't. It's so, the writing is so small. But I don't want to go outside. Hi, I'm Gabby Petito, who never goes outside, something along those lines. Yeah, someone that stays in bed is depressed too. I mean, they also could be tired. But why do you think Gabby's parents say it was her idea? I think it probably was both of their ideas. You know, I think they probably talked about doing this together. I mean, I don't think that you're going to be able to convince someone to go on a trip that they're not going to want to do. I think that, you know, I think they made this decision, and maybe, you know, when you're young and you have a love interest that has a specific goal in mind. Brian, in his dash cam thing, the body cam, said that they were going to go work on an organic farm, and that's what they were going to do. And he had this like thing that, you know, we don't need to have jobs. We can just live off the grid, and we can just live off whatever. And you know, it's interesting because when I was listening to Rose's, when I was like reading her interview, I thought to myself, you know, she sounds like a go-getter. Like, she sounds ambitious. She sounds like she wants to work. She sounds like she wants to go someplace and do things with her life. She wants to start a blog. She wants to make something of herself. And he sounds like someone that has no motivation and no interest in like making money and being successful. And I think he might have, in a way, seen her get success, and then he doesn't like that because it means that if she can be independent of him and find her own identity, she won't need him anymore. So yeah. Mackenzie says being van like first allowed him to have total control of her location and be with her at all times. So I think that if she was going to work, if she was going to like, if she was going to be blogging, she was going to get attention from other people, right? She even said, he doesn't think I can be successful in this. If you have a partner who loves you and cares about you, they are going to want to support your dreams, ambitions, and goals. I'm guessing Gabby, while on the road, determined they needed to have some sort of money coming in, because they can't just spend money hand over fist, right? They need to have some sort of income coming in, residual of some sort. And the best way when you're doing the van life is to do it through content, through a blog, through your Instagram, through YouTube videos, so that you can still enjoy being outside, but you don't have to be stuck to a 9-to-5 job. But he didn't even support that. It's almost like he wanted Gabby all to himself. And I think she didn't want that. So she might have started to see his true nature, for sure. So I thought it was interesting as we were going through all of this stuff, because I hadn't seen a lot. Her parents had not said a lot. And is that a pulse flatlining across the bottom of her picture? No, that was not a pulse flatlining. It was an arrow. And it looks like it was waves, like waves going into the ground. Okay. So there's been no confirmation that she's pregnant. That's a rumor. And that's fake news. Yes, exactly. So I think at the end of the day, this case for a lot of people just reminds them of either they were Gabby, or they had a friend like Gabby, or they dated someone like Brian and they were in a relationship like this where they had a man that was very controlling and very abusive. And, you know, for those of us that have been in a relationship like that, it's a reminder that, like, at least for me, I got out of that relationship and got therapy. Thank the Lord. I don't even thank the Lord, and I don't even believe in God, you guys. But that was like the best thing for me, was going into therapy. And for me, it's been this stark reminder that there are so many people, men and women, that don't get out, that the only way out is what happened to Gabby. And it's a part of DV that is so scary and such an awful reality. So I think this is going to open a much larger dialogue about DV, about relationships. And I wanted to sort of caveat into this because Gabby's parents say that they are planning to start a foundation. I don't know what the foundation is going to entail, but her funeral is going to be on Sunday. And it says, in lieu of flowers for the service, please send donations for the future Gabby Petito Foundation through Johnny Mac Foundation. We thank you all for your support. So one of Gabby's family friends was on News Nation last night. Family friend, her name was Maya. I can't remember her last name. She referred to Brian Laundrie as the evil one. She said, the evil one. I don't even want to say his name, she said. And she mentioned that if the silver lining of all of this is that there are a lot of aspects in relationships that we all miss. There's red flags. This can be an opportunity for people to have discussions about DV, to build more awareness about how people, friends and family, and even the persons involved can miss the red flags. Yeah. Maya Polsley. And I don't know if that was sort of like a hint that they might be starting a foundation that will be helping other people maybe that are in similar situations. But they are taking donations if you want to go there. They also have a GoFundMe. I think the GoFundMe is doing very well. I think they've raised over $100,000 there. But the service is, I'm sorry. Here. The services are held on Sunday at Maloney Funeral Home in Holbrook. It's open to the public, which is amazing. From Sunday on September 26th from 2 to 5 p.m. And they thanked everyone for their support. So they are taking donations for a future organization that they're going to name the Gabby Petito Foundation. So I think that's wonderful. I think it's interesting. I think it's phenomenal that they're opening this to the public, because I would be scared to open this to the public. I mean, but a lot of people feel like they want to say goodbye. I think other people in other areas are planning on doing like vigils during that time, or, you know, having their own memorials in their same areas during the same time, not going out to, I think it's in New York. So she will be laid to rest this weekend. Yes, her memorial is open to the public. This is true. A lot of young people don't notice because they don't know the signs. Exactly. I didn't know the signs until I went through therapy, y'all. Okay. So today also was incredibly interesting because there was a lot of commotion outside of Brian Laundrie's house. The cops showed up, like surrounding the house, walking around. They were only there for a few minutes. They swooped in and swooped out, very short. And apparently somebody had reported that there were gunshots in the area. So the Northport PD says they received a report of gunshots in the area of Brian Laundrie's home from unknown. No injuries were reported. Right now, no evidence any shots were actually fired in the area, and no reports from large contingency of media who were standing outside the home either. Yes, I have the video of the I was there. So there was also today one of the neighbors. So that was like a false report. And apparently, don't do that. It's almost like a swatting. And then this was News Nation Now's producer put this on Twitter. So her neighbors hung like a flyer over here, and it says, "I was here once." And it was Gabby. It was a photo of Gabby on a flyer that says, "I lived here once," or I was here once. Almost because like the Laundries have effectively forgotten about Gabby, like completely forgotten about Gabby. I don't know how you can forget about Gabby. I don't know how you can act like Gabby doesn't exist. I don't know how you can not help out a family when their daughter is missing. I don't know how you can pretend like she is non-existent, refer to her homicide as demise, you know. And a lot of people were asking about the crime scene tape. First of all, it's not a crime scene. The tape was put up when the FBI did their search, and it was just to block off the perimeter, and it was just to keep people off the property. So crossing the crime scene tape wasn't really like you're crossing the crime scene tape. It was there put up by the FBI when they were doing the search warrant. The search warrant was over. The tape was kept up, I believe, after the fact, just to keep people off the property, keep the, reporters off the property, keep the protesters off the property. They have already closed the street down, so people that don't have local traffic can't go on the street. So they weren't crossing into a crime scene because the house wasn't a crime scene. No crimes happened at the house. There was evidence that they picked up at the house, but not a crime scene. I hope that clarifies things. So then another thing was today they were doing more searches in the Carlton Reserve. And there are trail cams at Carlton Reserve Park. And I saw someone talking about this like in a Facebook group or on Twitter. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So then I clicked on the link and it brought me to the trail cams, right? So Brian, they have been spending all these different days in this place, which is, by the way, 25,000 acres. It's so hard, literally impossible to find him there because it's such a vast, it's swampy and there is so much happening there. And it's just a barrage, right? There's just nonstop, there's animals, there's venomous snakes. It's really hot. There's lots of water. It's unforgiving. It's very rugged. Okay. So I noticed on the camera that they had on one of the trails, and I think they have like 11 trail cameras or 12 trail cameras, that one of the cameras had a 1 minute sort of time lapse in the reserve of the different animals that you can see on the trails. And I thought this was interesting because I think it gives you kind of a good understanding of what Brian could be up against if he was there. Yes, this is in the reserve. So this was a time lapse from one of the cams, and I kind of condensed it. So wild pigs, which I guess are really aggressive. A bunch of my subscribers and followers in Florida said that the wild pigs, wild boars are literally the worst. Yeah, I think it's either a cougar or a panther. There's lots of panthers down there. So there's wild pigs that are really aggressive, I guess. And this one has piglets. There's like massively large alligators. There's coyotes, like lots and lots and lots of coyotes. Coyotes are really aggressive, by the way. There's a panther. There's another panther. Otters. Deer. Deers aren't going to hurt you. Deers are like not going to hurt you. Turkeys, wild turkeys. Do any of you guys live in an area where you have wild turkeys? We live in, he doesn't go anywhere. He can't go barefoot. I really struggle to believe he's there. Does anyone live where there's wild turkeys? Wild turkeys are aggressive. Wild turkeys are mean. They are so mean. They will charge you. They will go after you. They are huge too. They do. They chase you. They'll literally chase you. They'll try to peck at you. They are so mean. You do not want to see a flock of wild turkeys. But then look at this. They have black bears there too. So they have black bears, they have panthers, they have deer, which aren't going to hurt you. Deer are like deer are scared of you. Like we have deer where we live, like there's deer all around here. And if you see a deer here, they just like run away. We have coyotes here. Coyotes are really like, you have to watch your dogs and your cats outside here because of coyotes. We have vultures, we have eagles, big birds that will go after game. He's in the swamp where you add all of that, plus panthers, black bears, and venomous snakes. And I have a hard time believing that he's there. I have such a hard time believing that he's there. Now, Northport police put out this video today, kind of clapping back about why they're there. They say they have intelligence for why they're there, and they are following their leads. I have watched multiple videos or interviews with former FBI agents, and my guess is this. They have to follow the leads, right? They have to follow the leads. They are the FBI, so they have to be very meticulous. If they're not thorough and they don't uncover every stone and do as much as they can in one area, they could be accused of not looking hard enough. So they have to exhaust it with all their options before they're going to abandon it, right? And that's kind of what the FBI's former agents have been saying in interviews, like that they're going to do their due diligence because they had the lead that he's there, but then at some point they will, if they don't find him, have to move on. But they also pointed out that just because they're doing the stuff there doesn't mean they're abandoning searching for him elsewhere. But I thought it was interesting because Northport police were kind of getting snappy about it today. So Brian spoke to them, and this is what he says. Northport police were asked about the cost of the search at the reserve. The PIO said, the question about costs have come up a lot today, and we do not have that tallied up. We are not paying other agencies. It's mutual aid. From our personal standpoint, I would say we are working this case. I would say we are working this case instead of other things. So this search that they're doing is interfering with other active cases that are happening in this city. So my question is that when something like this happens and all of your forces are on one detail, do you realize that when all of your forces are on one detail, you have far fewer police to deal with like the regular crimes that happen in the area? Meaning this is a really great time to commit crimes in this area because they're all at the reserve. And I'm not encouraging you guys to commit crimes. I'm just saying that's the reality, is when they have so many people in one area, it makes it a less for everyone else. And it says, I would say we're working this case instead of other things. That has an impact on things, of course. There will be some overtime mixed in there, cost of fuel and vehicle maintenance too. Almost every meal we've had at the PD has been made by family or donated. Every meal for those working out in the field has been donated by our generous citizens and businesses. We have a special community. So this is what gets me. And this is what bothers me about this whole situation, is that he's taking resources. Yes. Yes, this is it exactly. He's taking resources from ones and leaving others open. And if you are someone in this area and you have something happen to you, they don't have the resources to help you. If you had detectives working a case for your loved one. Maybe your loved one also was harmed. It's taking the resources away from those cases. And that's the unfortunate problem. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. So now, who the heck is his lawyer and what sort of background does he have? I don't know. He's in New York. So they also are the lawyers are trying to justify the search too. So the public is starting to get unruly about the search. They're starting to feel like, all right, you guys, how much longer are you going to be there? This is a wild goose chase. And so now the family starts putting out this. The Laundrie family attorney, Steven, says that Brian left the house on Tuesday without his wallet or cell phone. He says the parents were concerned he might hurt himself. So did you guys notice? I don't know if you guys watched the weather for the day that he supposedly disappeared. It was raining. It was raining at Brian's house that afternoon, like pouring. Why would he go for a walk and meditate in the pouring rain at this park reserve? It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, I'm not here to make sense of anything, I guess. So that part of it confused me. Next, I did some digging for you guys, and his case was opened. So now that he has a federal indictment, his criminal case is open for the public to view the records. And because I do this for work for my other jobs, I pulled some of those documents for y'all. So they had this document that came out, which is let's see if I can. It's a motion for detention. So it says that the United States moves for pretrial detention of the defendant. Eligibility of the case. The case is eligible for detention order because this case involves the following: serious risk the defendant will flee, you think, and serious risk of obstruction of justice. They're already implying that he has obstructed justice. I'm just saying. And then maybe the people around him would obstruct justice. Reasons for detention: the court should detain the defendant because there is no conditions of release which will reasonably assure the defendant's appearance as required and safety of any other person and the community. So they are deeming him a serious flight risk, completely unable, and they don't trust him or anyone around him not to obstruct justice. And it says that rebuttal presumptive, the United States will not invoke the rebuttal presumptive against the defendant under this and time of detention hearing. So basically, they're requesting that as soon as they do arrest him, that he is detained. No bond, no release due to the flight risk, due to the safety of people around him. He is already a flight risk, but they don't have him yet. And then once they have him, they have to have a reason to keep him. So they have to request to the court that he not be let go. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is they gave some outlines about the detail of the penalty that he's facing. So a lot of people were annoyed that Brian's was only getting like, I don't know, they said such a small, tiny charge. So he's being charged with using or trafficking an unauthorized access device, which is the credit card, And it says 0 to 10 years imprisonment, up to a $250,000 fine, 3 years supervised release, or a $100 special assessment. So the current charge that he has is to really just get him in police custody. And they are going to continue to add charges as they go, right? So this one charge has up to 10 years in prison. He obtained the cash because he had her PIN numbers. So he had her personal identification numbers that you use when you go to the ATM. That's how he got it. All right. So what do we have here next? So it also says that he would be, will the government seek detention in this case? Yes. Are there detainers from other jurisdictions? No. So they are seeking detention. He's facing up to 10 years in prison. And this is just for the first count is just this. All right. So we do not entertain questions about things that are going on in our business that are not relevant and that are distractions, just so you guys know. So thank you guys for keeping Brenda on topic. Brenda has left the building. Okay. So the other thing that he doesn't have his card, he doesn't have his, okay, so he doesn't have a credit card, he doesn't have a wallet, and he doesn't have his wallet or phone. He's about to go off the grid, and if he is about to leave and flee, he's not going to take his phone because cell phones ping, right? Cell phones ping and they can be located, and as soon as someone gets a search warrant, they can start tracking it. So if he's on the run, he's going to be using burner phones. He would also could have taken out a boatload of cash. They can look at his parents to see if they took out a bunch of cash ahead of time. He could have he could even have the cards that are prepaid. There's a lot of ways that they can get around this. If they were, not every ATM has a camera, and not all, some of them do, but not everyone has them. They can get prepaid cards. He could be carrying cash. He could be meeting up with people that are getting them cash. But if he's going on the run, of course he's not going to have his wallet. He would never take his wallet because he doesn't want to have his ID on him. The last thing that he's going to want if he gets stopped is to have his ID that tells the U.S. Marshal or the police officer stopping him that he's Brian Laundrie. So he's not going to want to have his IDs on that at all. I doubt his parents are in contact with him now per advice, but they know where he is for sure. A Tampa Bay attorney has offered $20,000 award. Yes, we talked about that last night. So there is an attorney that offered a really big reward for all of this. That is 100% true. So, I honestly don't think that there is going to be any. Thank you, Angie. I don't think they're using crypto because they're not going to be using technology. Everyone that is talked about this, he's not going to be using any technology. He's going to be using cash, prepaid cards, burner phones, all of that. So I really highly doubt that he's going to be using any forms of like crypto. Plus, he's not. And then because of that, it's very unlikely that he's using social media right now. So I don't think that he's escaped the country. I don't think he's escaped the country. I think everyone that looks like Brian right now is getting totally bamboozled, and every single person that is balding and 5'8" is being accused of being Brian. So I don't think that's his photo that's in Toronto. I think it doesn't look anything like him. I think the guy of the photo in Mexico, he's way too hairy, and his beard has a completely different line. He has gaps in his hairline. Brian does not. I've not seen a single photo where I'm like, that's Brian. Like, no. The Toronto photo, no way. His nose was way bigger than Brian's. And there's just, Canada right now has really strict requirements. Like, you have to prove that you're vaccinated, and Mexico would be easier, but that would be also hard too. If he's going to cross a border, then he would also have to have a passport, and he's not going to use his current passport. So he would have to have an illegal passport, right? So he'd have to be using somebody else's passport. He might be using somebody else's ID right now too. He did not make an Instagram story. There's a lot of fake accounts. There's so many fake accounts. There's so many fake accounts right now. There's this video of him on the water. You guys, when you go live on Instagram, it has your name in the corner. I have not seen a single video that shows that he went live that shows his name on there. It's just this like blank screen of him in the water. There's a lot of people right now that are putting out and creating. There was a fake Facebook page that was put out that was putting out Facebook stories today. Wasn't real. I just can't see someone that's on the run like this, that's off the grid, that's going to be dumb enough to start utilizing any form of social media at this point in time. But that's just my opinion. He could have gotten a private boat from Sarasota Northport and gone anywhere you wanted very easily. You've lived in Sarasota for 28 years. Yeah, I don't know. I have not been able to verify a single person that has actually said that he actually, like, I haven't been able to verify a single report that he left. There was discussion that he left in the middle of the trip and he went back and Gabby stayed in Salt Lake City. I haven't been able to verify that in any other thing beyond like rumors. I don't know who said that. I don't know where that story came from. I'm not sure. I know that maybe her stepdad said something about that, but I haven't been able to find any like hard facts about that. I know that they said that he went back and moved some stuff out of storage. I keep going back in time to trying to find that, and I can't find the hard details about that. They have not stated anything about the trip. They have not stated anything about the license plates. They have not stated anything about anything. And I think that they're not going to release a lot of information about this right now. They're not going to get overly, they're not going to tell us what they know about the parents. They're not going to tell us what they know about his whereabouts. They're not going to tell us the comings and goings of his parents. They're not going to tell us what they're surveying about the parents. We're not going to find out what they got in their search warrant until the case. So I think of it this way. I'm covering Josh Duggar's case. I covered Josh Duggar's case from the first minute he was raided, right? He was raided in 2019. They did a massive raid of his business and they took everything. We did not find out the contents of that raid until a year and a half later. When they do a raid, they do not tell anyone what they find in the evidence because they don't want to tip anybody off. They don't want to spoil the case. They don't want to influence the jury pool. They have to keep so much of it close to the vest. And they also don't want to tell the person that's under investigation what they have on them before they get an indictment. So, and then when I compare that to where we are in Josh Duggar's case today, where he was arrested in April, and today we're still learning what they have in his case. We still don't know all of that they found. They haven't told us all the details of what they know about Josh. They've only given us a very high level. So they're not going to share what they're doing at this point. I hope that makes sense. We did all have an idea. This is correct. Thank you, Political Woodstock, for your super chat. I appreciate it. And thank you, Debbie, for becoming a member. They said it's about 2 to 3 weeks for the final results of her autopsy. For the full results of the autopsy, they said 2 to 3 weeks for that. I did not see any. I took a look. I didn't see any tickets. I didn't see any arrests. I think he had a pretty clean criminal history. He was also very young. Well, a body is technically remains once the individual is deceased, and she was it was 3 to 4 weeks. So there's decomposition that happens. It's certainly not going to be an open casket. My guess is that she was probably going to be cremated. I don't know for sure. They do give off false information to throw off suspects. The last thing that they want to do is tell a suspect what they have so the suspect knows and they know where to go and how to. Thank you for your in-depth reporting on the story. You're welcome. Is there anyone that has questions that we haven't gotten to at this point? Are there things that you guys wanted to know more about? I'm certainly not an expert. Her best friend was not there. Her best friend was working. She worked a double shift that day. Her best friend has said repeatedly that Gabby never responded to her, so they never met up, and she was at home working. I think the swamp search is a distraction to throw off Brian and make him feel safe where he is. It could be. I mean, they can't abandon a search just because it's annoying or they're not getting the results that they want. They're going to be as thorough as possible, I think, in that respect. I don't know a lot about his parents other than they own a juicing company. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and effort. You're really good at reporting criminal cases as well. I found you when you were reporting on the Turpin kids. Oh my gosh, the Turpin kids. Check my Twitter DMs. Very relevant information. Oh, yeah, I talked about that earlier. Thank you for that DM. He said that they've received intel. Yes, I talked about that video before about how they've been receiving intel and they have information, and that's why they're there. For sure. Thank you for that. Is there a history of cops between the parents? I don't think so. I didn't even see a criminal history for his parents, to be honest. They did check the camper. The camper was searched by the FBI on the day he was not in there. Oh, my son has to go to bed, so now I have 0 mods. All right. They have not said that she's pregnant, and I don't think that's a rumor. He does have tattoos on his hands and on his arms that I know of. You do an amazing job. This is my favorite channel. Oh, how many of you guys are new? This is a channel that covers a lot of different topics. I've always had a hard time committing to one genre. I do some reality television. We do some fun gossip. We do Duggars. I took a really long break from true crime. I used to, when I was writing, that's what I focused on was crime. And it was very exhausting to constantly cover crime. And you'll probably see videos of me saying that I don't do true crime because I didn't think that I was going to go back into true crime or that I would stay on true crime. But I realized that no matter what I do, I always find myself covering cases around court situations because I like to analyze court cases. I like to analyze crime. That doesn't mean that I'm a true crime channel, but I've definitely covered quite a bit of crime cases over the years. And I guess I've changed my mind and flip-flopped on things in the past. You watched me, on Frenemies? Oh my gosh, I think he called me a stalker or something, which wasn't true. Well, thank you for being here, Justin the Gamer Dude. Welcome. So glad to have you. You know, the interesting thing about this case is I've seen a lot more guys in my chat, which is neat because I have a heavy demographic of women that follow me. So it's been kind of cool to see some more guys in the chat, for sure. The Turpin kids are the family that had the children that were like being chained to beds and they were being severely neglected and abused by their parents. They weren't letting their kids move out. There was like 13 or 12 of them. Luis, and I can't remember what the dad's name is. They're serving life in prison. Some of their kids were like in their late 20s and they were not allowed to leave the house. Basically like the super horrible story. I don't know. They haven't talked about who's been questioned and who hasn't. I don't know. Tipster doesn't like me. You can't please everyone, right? I prefer not to get into it with other YouTubers these days. I try to spend the most of my time just focusing on myself. And that's really what I'm going to be doing moving forward. But if he doesn't like me, that's fine. He doesn't have to like me. And it's been neat to see his channel growing. So that's cool. Well, thank you for subscribing. I started watching because of Duggars, but I continue watching because you do such a great job. Well, thank you. I like to cover a variety of topics. The Turpins, I think, weren't they in California? I'm trying to stay out of the noise. My life is a lot easier when I stay out of the noise. They will hurt you so bad. Who will? Paris, California. Yes, that's where it was. Thank you for the reminder. The Turpins were in California, correct. I don't have anything against these people anymore. Like, I want every creator on YouTube to be successful. That's what I think. I think every creator should be successful. I think that every person should just make their content. I think that there's so much value in different voices, and everybody has a different personality. And I feel like viewers can have an opportunity to choose who they want to watch. And I think that's the super fun part about YouTube, is that you can find someone that you identify with and you go to that person and you can watch their content. And that's what I think is neat. I think everyone has like someone that speaks to them and they enjoy their content. That's kind of how I see it. I do. I have a really good crew of people that love me. You're right, Naza. So true. I don't know if Anna had her baby yet. Happy birthday, Lindsay. Sorry, did I miss someone's birthday? Your daughter is 9 and does her own content? That's phenomenal. Amazing. True Crime with Natasha, good source for news facts about cases, and lost kids and DV cases, doing a good job with the Gabby case. All right, check out True Crime with Natasha. I've actually had quite a few people bring her up. I didn't even know who she was, but I guess that's a channel that some people enjoy. So if she's a true crime person, check her out. I have been sharing quite a few more missing posters. So I heard you guys, and I understand there's so many people that are missing. And there's been a really healthy dialogue that's come into play about why certain cases get more attention than other cases. And so I have been spending time in my mornings going through various missing persons like Facebook pages and checking out Twitter for different missing persons on missing people's tags. So I have been sharing more posters on my Instagram and on my Facebook to help spread the word about other cases that are out there. There was one case yesterday, Jelani Day. He had been missing for quite a bit of time, and his mother had come out publicly and said that her son's case wasn't getting the attention that Gabby's was. And then suddenly they were able to connect the DNA of a body that was recovered in a river that was his. So they have found him now. So it's a sad ending for his mother. He was on his way to becoming a doctor. Incredibly tragic story. Lots of crazy stuff going on, correct. If Josh were to take a plea deal, Josh would get probably a 10-year plea deal. That's what the prosecutors have already said. if he doesn't take a plea deal, the judge already said that he's basically eligible for 25 years in prison. I'm not going to be commenting any further about any of this, to be honest. I don't find it serves me, and it's just unfortunately a distraction. So again, I'm just going to wish the best to everyone and hope they have a wonderful life. Josh is the devil, she says. Yes. All right, you guys. So we are at an hour. I have lost my mods for the night. And yeah. Yeah, the plea deal was, they said they wouldn't commit to it, but it was going to be around 10 years, I think they said. Yeah. So with plea deals with the government, you have mandatory minimums you have to do. So generally, if you take a plea, you have to take a plea. So you're going to do like 90% of that. All right. We're at the hour mark. So I'm going to get this one off. I want to thank you guys all for your super chats tonight, you joining, for all of my new subscribers. Thank you so much for being here. I am so appreciative of everyone that's here, that is positive, that has healthy conversations. Never send hate to any of the people that we talk about. Don't send hate to other creators. Don't feel like you need to send hate on my behalf to anyone that says anything about me. I just tell people, I ignore it. You ignore it. It's the internet. There's always someone mad at the internet. There's always someone on the internet that's mad at somebody on the internet, right? It's like, if someone wasn't mad on the internet, what would the internet even be? All right, so please hit the like on the way out. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure that you do. There will be more Josh Duggar filings. I've got 3 more that I have to go through. I might do a live stream where we go through the court filings, kind of like we did a couple weeks ago. And then next week, there's a hearing. So we're going to learn a lot next week about what comes up with Josh's case. And is the case going to get thrown out? Is the case going to get thrown out? Are they going to laugh at him? Who knows? All right, you guys. Bye.